name is Sandra Quinones. I work in human resources. I've done recruiting. I also work in career coaching as well. And during the day, I work at this office. I manage the administration and operations for Echoing Green, which is a small nonprofit organization. The members of this group include Dan and James, and I'll just tell you briefly about them. I have James's bio here, so I'll just read it, so I won't mess up any of his stats, so people know that.
Bad news. Bad news.
So James Harris is a lawyer in Manhattan. He grew up in the Bronx. He's been coaching and helping people to achieve their goals for the past 10 years. He actually runs a couple of groups that help people to attain success in their lives. And he's been doing that, like I said, for 10 years. He's very good at it. And he hosted the first meetup that we had with this group. It was about financial mastery. And I should also say that with this group, it's never the same topic. We try to have different topics to help you succeed in your goals. And our motto and what we sell is really action. We feel like, I think you said it earlier, that a lot of people, you said it, a lot of people say they try to do something, but really the point is to actually do it. We believe in sync, and we believe that's the way of the world, and that's the way the world is going. Networking, people communicating, just people getting together like this. That's what we're hoping to grow with this group. And later on, if you're interested more about that, James can talk about that later. So I'll introduce Dan, our speaker, our wonderful speaker here. Dan, hello. I'll just read his bio as well. He's originally from Cleveland, Ohio. He's been here for 5 years, New Yorker. I don't know what makes you a New Yorker. I think when you're here after a year or something, or maybe the first day and you curse at someone. So he's worked in the real estate industry for the past 15 years. It can get a little loud in this area, as you can tell when you walked in. It's probably like a little crazy. If you feel like closing the window, but also it gets hot in here, so you want to leave it open. So he's worked in the real estate industry for the past 15 years as an appraiser, investor, and a landlord, and a rental agent. He does a lot. So he's currently working as the manager of a real estate brokerage in Harlem. He's completing his certification to become a health and nutrition consultant and is in the process of launching his own consulting business. He has done Tony Robbins' UPW seminar twice. He's attended the Landmark Forum as well as the Peak Potentials Billionaires Mind Intensive Seminar. He ran a full marathon last year, which I didn't know. That's pretty cool. And and he has done as well for a period of time and is currently doing life coaching for individuals. We have another life coach here as well. What's your name? Ayelet. Ayelet? Ayelet. Ayelet. Oh, that's good. So, welcome there.
Sorry about starting a couple minutes late, totally my fault, but thanks for your patience. Thanks, Simon, for the intro. Tonight's group is basically about how to create change and how to create permanent change. So I think that everybody wants to change some part of one aspect of their life, but I think that a lot of people really don't know exactly how to go about doing it, or when they do change, they really haven't identified exactly how they did it so they can repeat that. Because everybody there's basically two types of change that we could do. There's either a behavioral change, like a habit that we want to stop, such as a smoking habit, stopping something, which would be like stopping a negative habit, or starting something new, like I want to start working out, I want to start eating better, I want to start, any kind of a behavioral pattern like that. The other kind of change would be a thinking change. I want to start thinking differently. I want about myself, about my future, about how I think about my finances, how I think about myself, my self-esteem, that kind of thing. So those are two primary areas that we can make changes in. And basically my talk is going to be, there's five things. There's five master steps I think that everybody can take to create change. So and there's going to be a little exercise that we're going to do. But while I'm thinking, before we get to the 5 steps, I want you guys to think about one change or habit that you were committed today to making in your life. So then when we get to the 5 steps, then we can all kind of like, it's going to be kind of an interactive process. We'll go through it, but start thinking right now about one thing that you've been wanting to do for a long time. You just keep putting it off, but you know that this change needs to happen. And if this change happened in your life, what would you like? This would make the most impact, and you would feel like more excited about your life than you are now. Okay. So before we get to the 5 steps, I want to just give a quick, some thoughts and some mindsets about habits and creating change. I have my bio written out here, but you already went through that, so I'll just skip through that. I've been an avid learner, by the way. I pride myself in always studying. I like to read biographies and how people, how they've achieved, and how, to live better, more effectively. I think that's one of the best ways that we grow as individuals is by reading and learning from others, and finding mentors, because we all need someone. We need someone to learn from in every single aspect of our life. So I've been, one of my own missions personally is finding, inspiration from other people, how they've done it, so I can do it, myself. As far as change and habits, and making changes in my own life, I've had, a lot of experiences. Like, for when I was in my younger years, I'm 36. In my early 20s, I had a lot of issues with drugs and alcohol, and I was able to successfully, get through that period of my life. I've also been associated with other people who have been able to also make changes, just basically, going from one extreme to the other, and making an extreme change. And I've always been fascinated with how do people do that? How do you just go from being one way one day, and then making a change to a completely different person? How does that happen? And how do we get to that point? And there's a systematic way we can do that. Not many people know exactly how to do that, but there's a way to do it, and we'll go through that. So and I've had a lot of success with the habit changes in my own life. There's always obviously progress to be made. But as far as quitting smoking, I went through that process. Working out, and then in career, I've started a couple of businesses, and just going through all those experiences, and helping others to make changes. So that's just a quick background, just so you guys kind of know a little bit about me. And as Simon said, I'm studying to be a health and nutrition consultant. One of my own passions is also one of my goals is I want to live to be 100 years old. It's a completely realistic dream that everybody should set. I believe there's no reason why we should be people dying in their 50s and 60s. We need to take care of ourselves in our 20s, 30s, and 40s, eating healthy and exercising. So that way, when you get to be a ripe old age, you're still able to function and to live vibrant without diseases and getting cancers and strokes. A little off topic, but.
But I digress.
Okay, good habits are hard to form but easy to live with. Bad habits are easy to form but hard to live with. That's one quote that I kind of always have told myself. The one thing I would like to say about that, though, is that I don't think that good habits have to be hard to form. I do think that bad habits are very easy to form, and we just kind of they're there, and it's tough for us to change those. But the good habits, I think, if we go through the process that we're going to go through, taking these 5 steps, I don't think that it has to be a painful thing. We can get leverage on ourselves and make changes and have them stick. And it doesn't have to be a painful thing. Like if we think about whatever the change is for us, if we want to start doing something and we're just having this struggle in our mind, we don't. It doesn't have to be like that. But we need to get leverage on ourselves. It takes 21 days to form a new habit. Some say 30 days to form a new habit. this is another cliche that has been thrown around a lot that I don't necessarily agree with either. I believe that there is, we have a comfort zone, and a lot of us live in it for most of our life. But I think that when we make a change, it takes a little bit of time to be comfortable. But I don't necessarily think that we have to wait 3 weeks for a habit to stick. I think when we make a decision and we decide how we want to live, we can immediately, step into becoming that kind of person. We don't need to, to wait around and do that. I think that making a decision is powerful. When we make a decision, we cut off any other possibility of retreat. So when we decide on a particular way of living, then that's the way it is, and there's no going back to an old way. So if you hear that, I would challenge you just to challenge that, and realize that it doesn't have to be like that. I think another area where people kind of fall on their butt is when they try to change the whole world at one time. And this is one area where I would, in my past, and even sometimes today, everyone wants what they want right now. And it's like we get frustrated when things don't turn out the way we want them to immediately. And so then we think of all these ways that we want it to be, and then when it doesn't happen the right way, we just go right back to the old way. And so one of the things that we need to work on is making one change at a time, and letting ourselves get comfortable with that change. So we don't have to go through a whole process again of trying to change ourselves. So don't try to change the whole world at once. That's basically all I'm saying. And one thing our group stands for, is just this Mastermind Alliance concept. Last group was about the finances, and one of the books that we recommended was Think and Grow Rich, because the concept that he talks about, that Napoleon Hill talks about in that book, is that mastermind concept. Is when people get together and they have objectives and they have goals, and they talk about how to achieve those things. They hold each other accountable to what each other wants to do, and there's tremendous power when two or more people come together for a particular objective, which is kind of what our group is about action, and it's about helping others, and it's about having accountability to other people, and finding role models who have done what you want to do, because that's how we learn, role models and mentors. So let's go ahead and talk about the 5 steps. Do we want to do should we do a volunteer, or do you guys want to maybe one of you guys want to?
I'll volunteer with you. I'm going to take it.
We'll also go through the process. So we both thought of, I'm assuming you thought of something to change. Yeah. Okay. Now, step 1 is very simple. It's something that most people don't do, but it's something that it's vitally important. But it's basically we have to decide exactly what we want. Okay, and that's step number 1. Decide what you want. So whatever that is, like I said, it could be either a thought change or a behavior change. So in my past, I've gone through this with smoking. I went through this with drinking. Drinking and drugs. I went through this, with that. I went through this when I wanted to quit swearing, because I had a pretty bad potty mouth for a while. What else?
What's an example of a thought change?
A thought change. I'm doing this now, actually. A thought change is something like when you have a disempowering thought, it's just a pattern of thinking that you can break, and then patterns become useless when they're broken. So once you break those patterns, you render them useless, basically. So if I have a thought about my finances, such as, oh my God, like right now, like a common theme for me in my thoughts is what I'm working on is I feel overwhelmed a lot. Like I have a full-time job. And then I also have basically 2 side businesses that I work on. And a lot of times I feel overwhelmed with tasks. You know, it's a lot. And having a social calendar at the same time, it can be a lot. So I'll feel overwhelmed, and then I'm like, oh my God, I have all this to do, and then nothing gets done because I have all this stuff to do and nothing gets done. But then you can immediately stop yourself from feeling that pattern. And back to the financial thought pattern that I have sometimes. That would be something like, oh my God, I'm never going to achieve wealth, or I'm not or this is so hard, or like rich people are greedy and mean. You know, those kind of things. I immediately stop myself. So anyway, so that's an example. I'm just giving you guys an example. So has everybody thought of something in their life? Did you have one, James?
Sure. I need to stop slacking and go back to the gym, where I haven't been since summer.
Very nice. Okay. So again, be very specific about this. You have to be it has to be a very specific thing. You can't be, that's one thing, is it can't be a general goal. It has to be just, you can't be, I want to be more happy, or I want to make more money. That's definitely not the way you want to word this. The more precise and clear you are, the better. Like, clarity is definitely power. When we're exactly clear about what we want, then we can bring that kind of stuff into our life. So be specific. The more specific, the better.
Did I make what I just said?
Yeah,
Is that clear?
Yes.
No, I'm asking you this.
You can. You said you wanted to stop slacking, and go into the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So what would constitute going to the gym? Like, what would be how many times per week do you want to do that?
3-4 times a week. For probably 45 minutes to an hour and a half, something like that.
3 or 4, so like a minimum 3.
Yeah, minimum 3
Okay.
times a week. And I guess that would be, to be more specific, for me it would be sometimes I would just want to run or lift weights, and other times I would probably do martial arts.
Cool. So
That's
3
specifically what I would do.
3 types of exercise.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Along with step 1, write down this also. What has been holding you back until now? So what's one thing? This could be something, anything. And if you think that you don't know, that's BS. You do know what's holding you back. And you do know what has been holding you back until now. So what up until now has been holding you back?
Can I add something?
Yeah.
If you're not sure that you don't know what's holding you back, imagine that you're asking your best friend or somebody who's close to you what they think is holding you back, and you'll probably give yourself the right answer.
Probably.
You
You have a question?
Yeah, my question was, what's holding us back pertaining to the habit that we want to break, or in general?
Well, for step 1, we're talking about a change you want to make, or a goal. Yeah. So in regards to that.
In regards to the change.
Yeah. In regards to the change or the habit or the thought pattern you want to break, what's been holding you back up until now to making that change?
Right.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
How do you make this, if you're thinking about thought change, how do you make that specific? Like, if your goal is to not think disempowering thoughts, like you just mentioned, to think, to not, complain and focus on that stuff, and to rather like practice attitude of gratitude, or whatever you're, like, how do you make that specific? Like, 3 times a day, when a thought comes, I'm gonna say, bye-bye thought. Like,
Well, it could be whatever the thought comes. It could be you don't want to think that anymore. So I'm assuming it could be your thought is are disempowering thoughts or negative thoughts. Is that what? It could be something simple as, I want to stop thinking negatively about this.
so like a specific, yeah. So
Yeah,
like
but
one topic at a time.
stop thinking negatively about this specific area of my life.
And
I can answer that.
Yeah, that's cool.
On average, we have 50 to 60,000 thoughts a day. Every 6 seconds, we switch what we're thinking about. Most of the thinking is about fear and worry. Either we feel something or we worry something may happen. When you start to think about what you want, it's basically positive.
There's no room for those other thoughts.
You
That's
can
what you're
be in
saying.
two places
You're so-
in one place,
you're so-
only one.
Right.
I think it's very negative
to actually say those words to yourself, like, I want to stop thinking about blah, blah, blah. You have to say, I want to think about life with the plans, or whatever it is.
Do you have a
See what happens.
specific
See what
example of
happens.
like?
There is two places. Yeah. When you think about what you want, you immediately start to figure out how to make it. What you need to do, where you need to go, who you need to talk to, that's what keeps you awake at night. If you're thinking about what you don't want, usually you complain all the time and look for somebody to blame.
I think having a visual is very important to number one. Like if you want to go to the gym, I think the thing I learned in Tony Robbins seminars was once you have the visual, the picture in your mind of you're out flexing the muscles of the guys or whatever, the visual is in your mind. If you want to be rich and it's a big car you want to be rich, then give you something. If the visual is there, it's so much easier to get to it.
Yeah.
Or somebody compliments and you look great. Have you been to the gym?
Are you clear? Right? You got it?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, cool. Does everyone have step number one done?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I give a quick suggestion?
Yeah.
Something that I do, like, I've done, what is it, affirmations. Everybody does affirmations. We don't know what affirmations are. But studies say that most affirmations, usually they don't work because, your conscious mind wants to accept it, but your unconscious mind knows you're lying. So a lot of times affirmation makes it worse. So a good exercise that I found that actually does work is to take whatever it is that you want to change and then list 3 reasons why it's true, actually. So if you think that you're ugly or something, you might have that messed up thought in your mind. Oh, I'm terrible looking or something. You know what? List 3 things that are real. You know what? When I walk down the street, people look at me. Or you know what? I actually am, like, whatever. Just 3 true things that make that statement true, and use those as your affirmations. And your subconscious mind actually accepts those because they're the truth.
Okay, number 2. What are the consequences of not changing? This is what we want to think about. What are the consequences of not changing? Okay? And this is basically the Tony Robbins thing that I got from him, so I'll give him credit. And what are all the benefits you will receive from making this change?
Can you repeat the first?
Sure. What are the consequences of not changing right now? Okay, so let's take an example. James wants to start working out 3 times a week. So if you didn't do that today, then
Consequences,
yeah.
I will be less healthy. I will probably not live to be 100. I will not feel good about, my sort of integrity.
Okay.
Me slacking off, not doing what I'm saying I'm going to do. And I will not look the way I look, also the way I want to look.
Mhm.
So yeah, my internal sort of idea of who I am will
Right.
line up with who I am
Right.
outside.
Okay, let's talk about benefits.
The benefits are that I'll be able to do more things that I like doing, like camping or hiking more easily. I enjoy going to the gym. I like lifting weights and stuff. It's like meditation for me, so that's fun. And that's part of my identity. It's just somebody who's sort of fit, right?
Right.
So, yeah.
The key, I think, with this stuff, this is probably the most important step. This is about leverage, getting leverage on yourself. Because when we get to a point where we're like, I've had it, no more, I can't live like this anymore, I'm gonna do this, and that's that. Then that's when stuff happens. That's when stuff happens. That's when you're really able to more easily make things happen and make changes and stop habits. So we just have to get to that point, and going through this process, thinking of all the benefits and all the ways that our life will look if we continue to live in the same way. That's what we need to do to get that leverage, to really get the motivation and the inspiration to make that change. All right. Another way to do this is getting a role model, finding someone who's already done this. If we find someone who's already achieved what we want to, like or who acts the way we want to act, or has done what we want to do, that makes it 10 times easier to, you know, to do that, because we have someone there who's already went through the steps. They can basically, show us how to do it, or guide us. Like, I've always wanted to know, like, from those people, like, you know, it was like that in real estate. I used to be an appraiser, and I apprenticed underneath an appraiser, and 3 years later I had my own appraisal business because I hung around this guy all the time. I just learned, like, basically his whole business from him. So that's pretty much how it goes. It's like, you become who you hang around. So like when you are around people who've done certain things, you'll pretty much get what they've got, with what they have. So, and another thing about this step too is, like, why we want to change, I think, is one thing that we need to really figure out, because it's not about how, because we all know how to do things is very easy. 80%, because I wrote this down here, 80% of change is having a strong enough why, and then 20% is knowing how to do it. So the more important is the, is knowing, the why. Everybody has their step 2 benefits and consequences of not changing. Have that done? All right, step number 3 is interrupt the old pattern.
Interrupt what?
Interrupt the old pattern. So what I mean by this is, okay, like with me, I'm going through this with, I'm wearing a wristband, and I got this at the last seminar I went to, the Millionaire Mind Intensive, and I because I was recognizing that I sometimes will have disempowering financial thoughts. So what the idea of the rubber band was every time I have that negative thought, I would snap myself, and then I would automatically replace it with a declaration, a new thought pattern. And I have it in my wallet, and I carry it around with me. And so whenever I have a negative thought, I stop myself, and then I repeat something, one of these declarations of wealth. I create my life. I create the exact amount of my financial success. I play the money game to win. Blah 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 blah. That kind of stuff. Empowering thoughts. Empowering financial thoughts. I admire and model rich and successful people. I believe money is important. Money is freedom, and money makes life more enjoyable. I want to be thinking those thoughts. I don't want to be thinking, disempowering negative thoughts. I want, because I want to fill my mind with what rich and successful people are thinking, because that's what I want. So so whenever I have those negative thoughts, I stop it immediately. Once a pattern is broken, it's rendered useless.
Can I give an example of something like that?
Go ahead.
So, I used to, back in college, I had sort of the most adorable addiction ever. I would eat like a box of cookies every day. But I worked out a lot, so it was fine. I ate a whole quart of milk and a huge box of cookies every day. So I got out of school and I'm like, I'm not working out as much. I'm starting to gain weight. I'm like, I need to break this. So I really sort of figured out sort of what were the things surrounding that habit, because I was addicted to these cookies. And what I realized was that I only liked the cookies if they were warm. Maybe for some people it might be like you only like them if you're hanging out with your friends, or you only like doing such and such if you're you smoke when you're out with your friends. So that might be something you can break. I only like these cookies if they were warm. So what I would do is I'd go to the supermarket, I'd buy them, and I'd put them in the fridge. And then if I wanted some, I would take them out, and I would have to leave them out for 45 minutes because I wouldn't want to eat them while they were cold. But by the time I wanted to eat them, it was the time they were warm, it was too late. So it was just sort of a way to break, that habit right in the middle. So.
Another example that I have in my own personal life is going back to the swearing thing. When I was going through this, my way of breaking that pattern was every time I would swear or say something that I was not comfortable with saying, or that I wanted to stop saying, I would basically slap myself in the face like that. And I would do that. I was committed to making that change. I was like, I don't want to talk like that anymore. And so I would do that on the subway. I mean, I wouldn't care if I wanted to make that change. So that was effective for me. So think of one thing that, one way you can break the pattern of whatever it is that you want, to change.
I'm going to apply this to
Think. Well, the old pattern is not working out. So there's, step 2 is we have all the benefits and we have all the, all the disadvantages of not going through it. So basically, not going to the gym equals pain, and going to the gym, equals pleasure. So you want to start thinking about, thinking in terms of that instead of, because right now you're associating pain with going to the gym.
So it's a little different. Like if it's something that I'm not doing, breaking it would be really sort of almost mental. But if it's something that I am doing, then it's different.
Yeah.
Or if you're doing something affirmatively versus not doing something, how you go about interrupting the timer.
Right. Yeah, because there's the thought process is there even when we're making a behavioral change.
Okay.
Can I add on that?
Yeah.
As to comment, because with going to the gym, it's one of like the hardest things to actually try to like conceptualize in terms of like making that change. So I found that like reward and punishment is pretty effective. Like for example, and this might sound extreme, but like I'm hosting a workshop at the end of this month, and I told myself like, not I want to have 100 people there. I have on my wall above my bed, there are 100 people at my workshop. It's like the affirmation thing. And I have like a shredder that's timed, and I put a $100 bill in the shredder. I know it sounds extreme, but like that's how confident I am that I will have 100 people at that workshop. And if 100 people don't arrive at that workshop because I didn't hustle this month to get 100 people there, then that shredder will be timed and it'll shred that $100 bill. So it's like, and it has to be something extreme to get you out of bed and get you moving. So you can find something that applies to working out.
Can I just ask, do you talk to yourself about going to the gym? I must go to the gym.
No, because that would make me feel like I had to go. It's easier not to go when you don't.
So you don't procrastinate, which is really bad habit.
What's that?
You don't procrastinate about the gym, which is.
Don't procrastinate about it. Not really, I guess. No, I've just been slacking off. Procrastinate would be like I'm ready to go, and then I'm like, I'm gonna watch,
Next time.
Modern Family or something.
Your pattern is you're lazy.
Pretty much.
That's like your pattern.
The interrupt, I think, is this is something because I play guitar, and so something I tend to recommend for people who play guitar and don't get around ever playing is a lot of time what they do is they'll have their guitar in a bag in a closet somewhere. But maybe a way to interrupt that for people, what I do is I keep it in a stand right in the bedroom. So it's right there. I have to look at it every day. I'm going to pick it up. I can play it even for 5 minutes. Maybe with the gym thing, an interrupt would be, actually have your gym clothes at work kind of thing. Or just sort of mentally being ready as opposed to what I was saying to you, where not even thinking. It's easy to not do something if you just put it out of your mind.
An interrupt
Make
could
it sort of obvious.
For me, it's look at you're not ready.
What's that?
You're not ready to go to the gym 3 times a week.
No,
If you will be ready, you will do it.
Same thing.
You're not ready.
Can I say that something? Because I actually agree with what you're saying. I'll tell you why. I've made a lot of changes in the past year in my life, and I think that I agree, Dan, with what you were saying earlier, that you can't change everything at once. Like most people, especially if you're an ambitious person, they want a lot of things. Like most people want to go to the gym and be healthy and look fit and have a lot of energy, and we want businesses, we want money, we want families, we want a lot. I want a lot of stuff. And because it's recommended, I agree that you focus on 1 or 2 things at once, not on everything. Whatever I think you should focus on everything at some point, but whatever you choose to focus on now should be whatever is your priority right now. Like, I had a baby a year ago, so I gained a lot of weight. And so my priority was to go to the gym. But that was more important than business, than money. It was like, I just thought about I have to lose weight, I have to be fit. That was so important to me. It was 100% number 1. And my husband said to me, I want to be fit too. Everybody wants to be fit. But he was not making any moves. He kept talking about it. I was like, well, why aren't you working on it? Why aren't you eating healthy? And then I asked him, is this your priority? Of all the things that are going on right now, like what is most important to you right now? And he said, right now it's, making money in my business. And the truth is, he wanted to be fit, but not at the expense of leaving the office and losing time and making, less. He's also in real estate, money or whatever, less connections. So I know from my own experience and like just friends and people at college or whatever, that any positive change you make helps you make another change. It's not just for you, it's like for all of us. It's a reminder for myself, I'm not just addressing you, I'm addressing myself as well. So whatever your priority is, when I lost the weight after having the baby, I also made I grew my business. I'm making twice as much money and working half of the time because I delegated, automated everything in 2 months. I was like, wow. It took me 4 years of running this business to do that. And then that change led to another change. So I think that whatever you're most passionate about right now, do that now. Once you achieve that, you have this confidence, drive, enthusiasm, you can do that. And I kind of know why you're saying it, because it seems to me like you weren't just passionate and excited. And how do you know what your priority is? I don't know, you just no. You just
It's individual.
Of course, and you just feel I call it passion. I call it passion, you just want to talk about it. I think we all know with it. So I think if it's not the gym, then it's okay that not to do that now. You can do that, in 2 months after you accomplish something else more important. So.
I guess what I might say to that is, I think that's true, that a lot of times, that's actually what you were saying earlier, that sometimes we try to take over the whole world and you end up accomplishing nothing because you try to do everything. I also think sometimes is that what we do is that we sit around and we self-medicate, whether it be with watching TV, which is a huge one, or laying in bed way too long, or or drinking and stuff. Just various ways that we self-medicate so that we don't have to do things or think about things that we should be doing. And I think frequently the problem isn't that you're not tackling your priorities, it's that you're not tackling any of your priorities, or you're just trying to you're doing a whole bunch of stuff halfway, and I think that's maybe the bigger problem. But I guess sort of what Dan, you're saying is that what this is about today is maybe thinking of the 2 or 3 huge priorities that you got.
One. Let's think of one change today. Not even 2 or 3. Because look, when you made those changes, that was the most important thing at that moment in time. Like you said, when I made changes in my life, when I wanted to quit smoking, I was like, I am so sick of my hands smelling like cigarette. There's so many that's why step number 2 is so important, because we get leverage on ourselves. We're that's it, no more. This is I'm 100% committed to making this change today, and that's how we got to be. That's how you got to be with the gym. You have to get leverage on yourself.
So maybe something I'll say is that I also have a lot of stuff going on. So maybe the gym isn't my super duper highest priority, but it's because I actually am working on those things. But the gym is something that is important to me. But if something is my super duper highest priority, it's probably happening in my life right now, just because of partially the kind of people that you hang out around with. If you hang around with people who are actually getting stuff done, you're going to start getting stuff done. But also just sort of, that's the point of this group, having people around you, being in that world, that mindset where something's important, you do it. So yeah, the gym probably isn't the main thing I need to do above everything else. But I do think when I was in high school, I used to do Aikido. And one thing my Aikido instructor told me, he said that if you really want to do something, because I was I don't know if I don't have time, I don't know if I can make it. He's like, if you really want to do something, you will always find time to do it. And I found that to be true, always.
Amen to that. If we want to do something, we will find the time to do it.
So true.
When we want to spend time with someone, we'll find the time to spend time with that person. Okay? In regards to commitment, this is a book that you guys should probably all read, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, T. Harv Eker. This is the seminar that I went to last month, the Millionaire Mind Intensive. This guy pretty much wrote it, or he wrote, well, the seminar is based on this book. But I just want to read one quick thing by W.H. Murray. This is about commitment. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents, meetings, and material assistance which no man could have dreamt would have come his way. I think that's pretty powerful, and that's what happens when we commit. So let's go to step number 4. I think we beat the hell out of step 2 and 3. Step number 4, create an empowering alternative. So bad habits must be replaced with new habits. So if we're stopping something, we have to make sure that we're replacing it with something else. Okay? What are the new behaviors that we are going to replace the old pattern with? And the biggest, and again, another big thing with this step is finding a role model, finding someone who's already made that change. So, for example, when I quit smoking, what did I replace? Then, I had a lot of time. I was smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. What am I going to do with all this time? Because I was thinking about it, man, one cigarette takes almost 10 minutes a cigarette. That's 20 cigarettes a day. That's like a couple hours a day. I'm standing outside smoking. First of all, what am I going to do with what am I going to do with all that time? And so I had to immediately find things to replace. And I quit. I tried to quit several times before I finally got this. But I had to write stuff down that I was going to do. The whole thing. I had to, the day that I did it, I wrote down everything. I had to make sure I had gum, and I had toothpicks, and I had, I used a little bit of sugar when I first quit. But I had a whole list of things that I was going to do. I read more. I started working out at the same time. So it was just that I replaced the bad habits with new habits. Now, in your case, you want to start going to the gym. So you need to pencil in that time in your calendar and make it a priority, if that's indeed your priority right now. Okay. It has to be a definite,
Specific time, specific
Yeah.
thing, specific thing that I'm going to do when I'm over there.
Yeah. And then final step is that we have to condition the new pattern so it becomes consistent. And this basically, all this step is about is pretty much just time. It's just letting time pass and just kind of ingraining, because it's kind of like the whole metaphor of you're playing a record, and the grooves in a record. For people who remember records, I do. But the grooves in a record there's grooves, and that's how our brain is. The way we think right now is so ingrained that when we make a new change, it's kind of like scratching that record. But once then the record. But the thing is, then the record will never play the same way, because we've gone against our old way, the old way the record played. So once we establish the new record, the new way we want to think, that's exactly how we're going to live from now on. So that's the metaphor I use. I think of all the time. It's helped me so much. Is we need to get that new pattern ingrained, and that just takes time. So every day, and it's just basically one day at a time. Today, I'm going to do this, and I'm committed today to doing this, because this is all I have control over is today. So we have to just make sure today that we're we're doing whatever we've chosen. The commitment that we made today. Let's just do this one day at a time until we've gotten it, until we've mastered it, until we've achieved mastery. And then the pattern will be conditioned. Everybody got step 5 down?
Yes.
I think that what we're going to do now is we're going to that's pretty much all I got for the 5 patterns.
Yeah, can I give a suggestion? I think
Yeah, go
it's
ahead.
pretty good. I was looking for this program I have. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of these programs. I have one on my phone. I forget the name. There's one for the iPhone. It's called Streaks. And what's really cool is that basically it's a little calendar. And what you do is you say, let's say I want to meditate every day, right? Let's say I want to meditate for 5 minutes every day. So I put that into my little program. And what it'll do is it'll set off an alarm, let's say in the morning or whenever you want. And every day that you do it, you put a little check. So it's like you're giving, it's like a little like reward thing, so that what's that?
Don't break the chain.
Exactly, yeah. And so that by the end of, 10 days, you have a streak of 10 days going. Now you don't want to break it, and now it's easier for you to get to do that step 5, where you can keep this thing going, Let me see if I can find the name of this Android one. But the one for iPhone is called Streaks, and there's tons of them. There's for Android, for iPhone, and
I
they're free.
found they're in a big red marker, so you see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could I put it in my bedroom, big giant desk calendar hanging up on my wall. My wife was trying to go nuts. Why do I have this ugly thing in my bedroom? But it helped because I was trying to get up earlier. So I used to get up at like 8 o'clock. Now I actually get up at 5 o'clock every morning, which forces me to go to bed at a certain time to actually get 8 hours of sleep. I don't know how many people here actually get 8 hours of sleep, but I found it very difficult. I have 3 children, and it's very difficult to get that much sleep. So it forced me to realize, okay, I have to get up at 5. That means I have to go to bed at this time. That means all these kids, everything has to be done at a certain time. Everything kind of flows.
Yeah.
So just by seeing that gigantic calendar, they're like, look, I did a whole month. And now it's easy. I actually get up without the alarm clock.
I can tell you live more than everybody else.
I live more than everybody else.
If you break it down, we have 24
You've never
hours
met
a
my
day.
kids.
If you sleep 8, it's 1/10. If you live up to 90 years old, you will sleep for 30 years. So when you break it, you take another 2 hours or 1 hour. See how many years you add to your life.
That's promising.
That's what I say, you live more than anybody else.
So now we're going to get to, so the program for Android, the one I have is called Routinely. It's a free program. So now let's give Dan a hand. That was pretty good. Now we're going to get to sort of the meat of what this is all about. A lot of people, I guess you guys had this talk when you came in. What's on our website, people like to talk about stuff. People like to, I'm going to do this, or I want to do that. I hope I'm going to do that. If your life is full of, I'm thinking about, I'm hoping, I want, then you're not really living a life of power. A life full of power is a life where you're in action. If you're all these things that you have in your head, if you're not in action, then it's not real. It's just in your head, and that's the truth. So what we're trying to do that's different with this group is that the first half, we have a speaker who will come up and, share some ideas, but the second half is about actually getting together and taking those specific things, whatever it was that Dan talked about, I see you laughing, whatever it was that Dan talked about, and actually forming little groups, and we're going to figure out how we're actually going to make that happen in real life. Not just everybody leaves and half the people in here hope that happens someday. Hey, that was pretty cool, bye, here's your $5. We're not really doing this for the money. This is so that we can actually, this is for us too, but this is actually about making real change. So also, if you want to, what we would like is that what we do is we spend the next 6 weeks, you can keep your small group together if you want, give your email address. And then the small group can stay together and actually sort of keep up with each other. How are things going? That whole thing. They can grow rich, the Mastermind group, etc. Okay, so what we're going to do is so we're going to break up into groups of, 4, 3 groups of 4, and we're going to, until about 8:30, we're going to just go around, and everybody is going to go through these 5 steps for whatever that important thing was that you wanted to work on, and we're going to make it happen.
If you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to.
Yeah. If you don't want to, you can make up something corny. Wear better shoes. Okay. So I guess here.